Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sudhir Chandan and welcome back to my channel Energy and Environment Education. I hope you might have gone through the first part of this video, the compressed air system. This chapter is very important for all the aspirants who are looking forward to take exam this year or the coming years. So I hope you must have gone through the first part. This is the second part of the chapter. In the first part, I have discussed mainly on some of the important topics like what is a compressor all about, what is compressed air system all about. The introduction part I have shared with you. Then the types of air compressors, those things also have discussed. I have also presented a short clip on the different types of compressors and the working principle of those compressors also have been explained in that clip. So if not yet seen those, that the first part of the video, you might go to the first part first and then come back to the second part, that is part B of the compressed air system chapter for the energy and energy manager exam or energy auditor exam that you're going to take this year or in coming years. Apart from this, also I had discussed in the first part the general selection criteria for the compressors. Those things also is very important as far as the exam is concerned. So if you have missed those part, that also can be seen and can be understood by you going to the first video. Apart from this, also the system components also have discussed the major system components of the compressed air system, which are very relevant and which are very important for your understanding and for the exam point of view also. Those things I have discussed in the first part of the video. That is the first part, that is chapter 3.3 of book 3 of energy efficiency exam, and if you have missed it, please go to the first part and come back to the second part, which is the part B of the compressed air system, friends. So let's start the video now. Hopefully these top important tips that I'm sharing you in different videos is helping you anyhow for your preparation of the exam. I hope you might have already started for the preparation for this year's energy auditor energy based exam. So I hope my effort is putting some value to your preparation and is supporting you and in helping you to prepare for your exams and friends. So please keep on watching the videos because I'm going to post number of videos in coming days also on different chapters and important tips and important points I'm highlighting on in the different videos that I'm sharing with you. So please subscribe my channel also because this will also motivate me to prepare more such videos in coming days and post for you. And also one important thing I would like to share here, because these tips are very valuable for your understanding. Maybe this may support you in preparation for your examination. So let's start the video, friends, without wasting further time. And now let's see the content first. The important points that I'm going to discuss in this particular video for you in this chapter, friends. So first of all, I would like to start with the important points for objective question. Basically, the number of questions comes from this chapter in the objective sections. So very important it is for your exams and concern. So I'm going to discuss majorly the important points, highlighting those points which from which a number of objective type questions can come in the examination. Those things I'm going to discuss you in the first part of the video. Apart from this, also I would like to highlight the important formulas that are important for you, which you can understand, which you can learn them, and which can be applied for solving the different type of numericals. Some of the numericals I'll share with you. I'm making a separate video on numerical part also, which I will be posting in coming days. But in this particular video, I'm not going to highlight too many of numericals, but yes, few numericals just for your understanding how the formulas are relevant for you and how the formulas can be applied on those numericals. For that understanding only, I'm going to share you few numericals in this particular video. But again, saying the major part of the numericals will be discussed in a separate video that I'm going to make for you and post in coming days. So these are the contents that I'm going to share in this particular video. So basically the different points for the objective questions, also important formulas and the important numericals for you in this from the chapter compressor system. This is the major highlight of this video, friends, today. So to start with energy efficiency practices in compressed air systems. This is a very important part of the chapter where number of questions comes in, and energy efficiency is very important for any compressed air system. That's important point for you to understand. One thing. Second thing, number of objective question also comes from this part of chapter. That's what I'm trying to highlight here. I'm trying to present you all those important points from where the different type of objective questions can come. Even short answer type of question also comes from these points which are relevant for you to understand, which are very important for the exams and concern, and also different sort of I mean, the short essay type questions also for the long essay type question also, part of long essay type question also comes in from this part of the chapter. Those things also I'm going to highlight here with different points from the chapter concerned. So very important for you to understand. So let's see the first point, that is the effect of intake air temperature on the power consumption. It's a very important point for you to understand how the intake of air temperature, I mean the air temperature is concerned with the power consumption, how it varies. So the three important points: the inlet temperature, the relative air delivery, and the power saved. These are three, I mean, parameters which you need to understand and how they are interlinked with each other. That thing I also need to understand. Before that, just see the important point that I've highlighted here. That is, every 4 degrees centigrade rise in inlet air temperature results in a higher energy consumption by 1%. First of all, you should understand and you should remember these two figures, that is 4 degrees centigrade and the 1%. This means if there is a temperature rise of 4 degrees centigrade in the inlet air temperature, it leads to higher energy consumption by 1%. So you may get a question like fill the blanks, where these two space will be left for you to fill up, that is 4 degrees centigrade and 1%. This type of question you may get. Also you may get some like true false type, like suppose if 4 degrees centigrade rise in the temperature is there, then 1% or 2% or 3%. This type of question also will be asked as a true false questions. Also you may get like operative question also, where you may be asked the correct answer. So this type of question you may expect in the examination. First of all, from this part of chapter, now let's see the table what is given here. So if you see the temperature, inlet temperature here, like 10 degrees centigrade earlier it was, then at that time the relative air delivery was 102% and the power set was 1.4. Now as the inlet temperature is increased from 10 to, suppose it is now 43.3 temperature. So once the temperature, inlet temperature is increased, with this what happens, the relative air delivery decreases and the power saved also decreases to minus 5.8. This means there will be negative impact on the power saving. So you see, as the temperature is increasing, there will be less energy consumption saving, and also relative air delivery will be less. So the what you need to understand is that you need to keep the inlet air temperature as low as possible. This will not only give more air delivery, also the power saving will be more in that case. This is very important point, key point for you to understand, and therefore it is the point highlighted here, that hence cool air intake leads to a more efficient compression. This means you need to keep the uh, air intake as cool as possible. So less the temperature, less the inlet air temperature, more will be the relative air delivery, and more will be the power saving. More the inlet air temperature, less will be the relative air delivery, and less will be the power saving. So if you want to conserve power, if you want to save power, what you need to do is you need to keep the inlet air temperature as low as possible. With this, the relative air delivery percent will also increase. This will have more compressor efficiency in that case. This is what I wanted to explain you, and this is very relevant as far as examination concerned, because different types of questions can come in the examination. They may ask you to explain briefly the impact of intake air temperature on the power consumption. This type of question you may be asked in the examination to briefly explain it. Also you may be asked as a short answer type questions, where the table may be asked. Not exactly the entire figures need to be presented, but a rough I mean figures can be assumed and put in there in the table to show that how the inlet air temperature is impacting the power consumption. Second thing is the different type of objective questions, or the fill of the blank question or true false question can be also asked from this particular table. So please remember the table, not exactly the figure numbers here, but the what is the pattern of the or the what is the connection between the inlet air temperature, relative delivery, and the power saving. So this is the important point which you should understand, friends. Now, similarly, another table is important for you to understand. Like this last slide, I showed you one important valid point and the important table. Same way, this table also is important. Number of type of questions, like the short answer type of question, where you will be asked to briefly explain this table. Not exactly the number figures what I mentioned here. Important is the connection between the pressure drop and the increase in power consumption. So if you see the important point that I've highlighted here, that is, for every 25 millibar of pressure lost or pressure drop at the inlet due to choke filters, the compressor performance is reduced by about 2%. So you see, the uh, if the pressure loss will be more, I mean the pressure drop will be more, then the compressor performance will be reduced. So if you see the pressure drop across air filter and the increase in power consumption figures concerned, so if you see starting it is if suppose it is 200 pressure drop is there, then the power consumption is 1.6. Same way, if the pressure drop increases to 800, the power consumption is more. So you need to keep the pressure drop as low as possible. That's the one criteria that you need to understand first of all, that if you want to have the better compressor performance or less power consumption, then you need to keep the pressure drop as low as possible. This is the effect of pressure drop across air inlet filter on power consumption. Second thing is also the choking part. That is, filter should be kept as clean as possible. There should be less choking or minimum choking or no choking at the filters. This will not only let the pressure drop minimize and also save the power. So more important, you need to understand that why the air filters need to be clean. For this particular table can answer this question. Also, if they ask you to link between the pressure drop across air filter and the power consumption, then also this table is important for you to understand, and based on this table you can answer both the questions, friends. Also on in the objective questions and the short answer type questions, or any other question can be answered by using this table, friends. So this is very important for you to understand as far as the examination is concerned. So now see the third and the other important table, friends. So this is the third table which is very important for you to understand, where some questions can be asked in the examination and maybe asked you to explain how the compressor efficiency depends on the altitude or the elevation part. So just you can see the table here, that as the altitude is increased from the sea level, like suppose it was 500 earlier, that it was increased to 2500. So you can see the pressure also gets reduced, and also the percentage relative volumetric efficiency also gets reduced, so as you increase the altitude. So it's very relevant point that as the compressor altitude where it is located is increased, so the pressure also gets decreased and the compressor efficiency gets lowered. So it is aware that compressors located at higher altitudes consume more power to achieve a particular delivery pressure than those at sea level, as the compressor ratio is higher. So this is a very important point for you to understand as far as the example is concerned, that you should keep the compressor at a lower altitude or at the sea level. So if you raise the height of the compressor where it is located, so the compressor efficiency will be less and the power consumption also will be more in that case. So this is a very important point as far as example is concerned. So you may be asked as to explain as a short answer type question, or also can be asked as a object type questions, or from the true false based question also can be asked from this part of the table or the chapter, friends. So it's a very important point. Now the efficacy of inter and after coolers is also an important table for you to understand, maybe asked as a short essay questions where you may need to be explained this particular point, the efficacy of inter and after coolers. So you may need to understand this table first, where the first stage inlet temperature is given and second stage inlet temperature is given, capacity is given, sat power is given, specific energy consumption is given, and the percent change is given. So you need to understand how it the like if it is imperfect cooling, then what is the impact, then perfect cooling, what is the impact, and if it is cooled as a chilled water cooling is done, then what is the impact. So you can see here, in case of imperfect cooling first, the first stage inlet temperature is suppose 21.1 and the second stage inlet temperature is 26.6, because there is imperfect cooling. With this what happens, the basically the specific energy consumption is 4.9 in this case, and the percentage is plus 2.1. Now what happens if it is perfectly cooled, I mean if the perfect cooling is done, so what happens at the first stage inlet temperature 21.1 remains the same, but at the second inlet temperature what happens, the temperature decreases to 21.1. So this means the temperature, I mean it's not decreases, it remains the same as it is, from 21.1 to 21.1 only. So you can see in the case of imperfect cooling, the temperature increases to 26.6, but when it is perfectly cooled, so the temperature will not increase, it will remain the same, and with that what happens, the specific energy consumption also gets reduced, and also the percentage is negligible there. So this is the impact with the uh, imperfect cooling and perfect cooling, you can say differentiate here. Similarly, if you see the chilled water cooling, like suppose now we cool it with the help of chilled water, then what happens? If the initial temperature was 21.1 as it is, so now the temperature will reduce to 15.5 degrees centigrade. So you can see in compare it to imperfect cooling, then the perfect cooling, and then the chilled water cooling. You see the initial temperature remains the same, but the stage 2 temperature, first of all it was 26.6, then it was 21.1, and now it is 15.5. This means drastic change is there. You will have less temperature here at the second inlet temperature, it will be less here. So with that what happens, specific energy consumption will also reduce. This means efficiency of the compressor will increase and the percentage change will be minus 2.1. That is, you will have better compressor efficiency if you go with the chilled water cooling. If not the chilled water cooling is available there, at least you should go for the perfect cooling. And if there is no perfect cooling, it is imperfect cooling, in that case there will be more temperature at the inlet, temperature will be more there, and in that case more power consumption will be more there, and therefore what happens, the specific energy consumption also will be increased. So this is very important point for you to understand, also to be explained in the examination if it comes, how the perfect cooling or the chilled water cooling helps in the power consumption, or how the specific energy consumption is improved with the perfect cooling or the chilled water cooling in case of compressed air system, friends. So it can be seen from the table that an increase of 5.5 degree centigrade in the inlet to the second stage results in a 2% increase in the specific energy consumption. This means what happens is, if the temperature of the second stage inlet temperature is increased to 5.5 degrees centigrade, there will be at least 2% increase in the specific energy consumption. So if you want to decrease the specific energy consumption, this means if you want to make the compressor efficient enough, so in that case you need to keep the chilled water cooling system in place, or if not, at least the perfect cooling can be done with the help of air. Air cooling also can be possible there. So this is the what wanted to understand and explain you, friends. That is, you must understand why compressor is very important. First of all, how we need to make it more energy efficient, how can we improve the efficiency of the compressor. So this is one area where you need to look on. That is, you need to keep the chilled water cooling system in place, or perfect cooling should be there, such that the compressor efficiency can be increased, specific power consumption will be reduced, and there will be more compressor efficiency. So this is a very important point as far as examination concerned. Number of type of questions can be asked in the examination, so you must be prepared with this table, friends, and how the parameters are linked to each other. Now this is another important point, the cooling water requirement. Now it depends on the pressure that you want to ask. I mean, you need the compressed air. That is also important. Also, the different compressor types is also relevant here, because different compressor types needs different type of water requirement is there. So like suppose if you see the compressor type, single stage compressor type, you see that at the same bar it is 3.8 minimum quantity of cooling water requirement. So now if you switch to two stage compressor, so in that case 7.6 will be required for the same pressure. And if you are switching to single stage with after cooler, then the water requirement will be 15.1. The same way if you go to two stage with after cooler, in that case it will be 18.9. So what is visible here, that for the same, I mean, same pressure maintaining, and if you're using different type of compressor like single stage or two stage or single stage with after cooler or two stage with after cooler, you'll have different quantity of water, cooling water required in different compressors, friends. So this is very relevant point, and for you to understand as far as I'm concerned. So they may ask you different type of questions from this part of the chapter also. Again, this is a very important point for you to understand, that is the power reduction through pressure reduction. That is, a reduction in the delivery pressure of a compressor would reduce the power consumption. It's a very important point, that how the compressor pressure, if it is reduced, the what is the impact of it on the power consumption part. So this is a very important point, and you can understand with this table also how the pressure reduction is impacting the power reduction. So if you see the table here, like suppose it was 6.8 earlier, then it was decreased to 6.1. Then if you see the different type of compressors, how it is impacting the power reduction here. So from, if you are increasing the power, I mean pressure from 6.8 to 6.1, in the case of single stage water cooled compressor, the power reduction will be around 4%. In the case of two stage water cooled compressor, it will be 4% again. But in the case of two stage air cooled compressor, the power reduction will be 2.6%. Likewise, if you are reducing from 6.8 to 5.5, now instead of 6.1, in that case power reduction in the single stage water cooled compressor will be 9% at least, and you will get at least 11% of power reduction in the case of two stage water cooled compressor. And in the case of two stage air cooled compressor, you will have 6.5% of power reduction if you are reducing the pressure from 6.8 to 5.5. So you can compare the the table here, I mean the three stages, like suppose three type of compressor, basically the single stage water cooled, or the two stage water cooled, and the two stage air cooled compressors, how the power doesn't takes place in the three type of compressors if you are reducing the pressure from 6.8 to 6.1, or from 6.8 to 5.5, friends. So this is a very important point for you to understand, and very relevant for the examination concern, friends. Again, this is a very important point, friends, and this is important table also you must understand. Like suppose the how the pressure and the specific power consumption is linked to each other. So if you see the pressure bar, if it is 1 now and the number of stages is 1, so the specific power consumption of in terms of kilowatt will be 6.29. Now if the pressure is increased to 2 bar and number of stages remain the same, so specific power consumption increased to 9.64. This means if you have more the pressure, even then the stage number of stages remains the same, then also the specific power consumption gets increased. So if you see the table here, like suppose now the pressure bar is 3 and the number of stages is 1. again the specific power consumption gets increased. So we must understand this point, how the pressure is related to the specific power consumption even if the number of stages in the compressor remains the same. Now suppose if you increase the number of stages and also the pressure bar, like suppose if it is 4 and number of stages is increased to 2, again you see the specific power consumption is increased to 14.57. So what is important here to understand is how the pressure and the specific power consumption is interlinked to each other. So this is very important for you to understand. A very important table also, maybe again same short type of question can be asked, or briefly explanation can be asked in the examination concerns, so friends. So you need to understand how the pressure and the number of stages also is important for you to understand, and how they are linked to specific power consumption as far as the compressor is concerned, respiratory compressor is concerned, friends. So this is a very important table for you to understand, and this can come in the examination, friends. Now again important point is energy wastage due to smaller pipe diameter. So basically the how the pipe diameter is linked to uh, the energy consumption, or you can say energy losses going on. So if you see the table here, the pipe nominal bore, like suppose 40 is there. First of all, at that time the pressure drop was 1.80. Now the equivalent loss was 9.5. Now if the pipe nominal bore is increased to 50, so what happens is the pipe diameter is increased to 50. So in that case what happens, the pressure drop is reduced and the equivalent power loss also gets minimized. So you must understand in this way that how the pipe diameter is impacting the energy losses and the pressure drop. So the first answer is, like suppose if you increase the pipe diameter, so there will be less pressure drop, first thing, and also there will be less loss of energy. So if you see the table here, so if it is increased from 40 to 100 pipe size or the pipe diameter, so pressure loss or pressure drop will be 1.80. It was initial, now it is 0.02. So this is the pressure drop now, friends. So it is reduced drastically. Similarly, if it was 9.5 earlier, the power loss, now it is only 0.1. So if you see the table here, you can easily understand that how the pipe diameter impacting the losses and the pressure drop. So very important again for the example concerned. So typical acceptable pressure drop in industrial practice is 0.3 bar in mains header at the farthest point and 0.5 bar in the distribution system. These two are important figures, numbers that you must understand and you must keep in mind, because they may ask you as a fill the blanks or maybe true false type question also from this particular highlighted point, friends. So again a relevant question here which may come in the examination, which you must understand. Maybe number of type of question in different ways can be asked from this part of the chapter also. Now the cost of air leakage. Air leakage is very important aspect which you must understand in the case of compressed air system, because as the air leakage is increased, so the power consumption also increases, and there is huge losses in case of monetary loss going on in the plant, in any plant. So if you see the orifice size here, if it is 0.8 earlier, at that time the kilowatt wasted is 0.2, and the energy waste in rupees per year is 8,000. So again, if the orifice size is increased to 1.6, the kilowatt wasted will be 0.8, and the energy waste in rupees per year will be 32,000. This means as you increase the orifice size, this means the hole in the pipe where the pressure where the compressor leakage is going on is increased. So once the hole is increased, or the orifice is increased, what happens is basically more air is lost, and therefore more kilowatt will be wasted, and there will be more, I mean, energy waste or rupees per year, or the monetary loss will be more in that case. So you need to minimize the air leakage in the any compressed air system, friends. This is very important. So then you may be asked as to understand, I mean, explain in the examination, like why the compressed air leakage should be addressed, why you should keep the air leakage as minimum as possible, or how the air leakage is impacting the compressed air. So this or the monetary loss is happening with the air leakage. So different type of question can be asked from this table only. So this table is very important for you to understand also, and maybe these numbers are not important, but the explanation should be done based on this, I mean, uh, numbers whatever given here. So in that case you must understand how they are interlinked with each other. I mean, the orifice size is interlinked with the kilowatt wasted and the energy waste in rupees per year, or the monetary loss. So this is very important point to understand for you as far as the exams are concerned, friends. And now the heat recovery part. So as I told in the first video also, the first part A, that mainly in the compressor, what happens is maximum amount of electrical energy is wasted in the form of heat or friction or other losses, and only 10% of the electrical energy is actually consumed by the compressor to compress air, and that is why the you need to trap those losses, the heat you need to recover, if you recover those heat, at least 50 to 90% of this available thermal energy can be recovered, and this can be put into a useful work to heat air or water for your other requirements in the premises. So this is very much important for you to understand. First thing is that the electrical energy is maximum wasted in the form of heat in the case of compressed air. That is the first point you need to understand. The second point is the heat recovery part. That is, if it is wasted, then why not recover the heat? So you need to use different technologies to recover those heat which is getting lost in the compressed air. So that is also important point. So in many cases, a properly designed heat recovery unit can recover at least 50 to 90% of this available thermal energy and can be put into a useful work heating air and water. So this is a very important point as far as the exam is concerned. So they may ask you in questions in different way why heat recovery is important, how heat recovery can be possible, how much percent of heat recovery can be possible, what are the how much heat loss is going on, what type of energy losses goes on, I mean, in the compressor system, or how much efficient is compressed air, or how much losses basically takes place in the case of compressed air system, how much useful energy is used in the case of compressed air system. The different ways they can ask you in questions in the examination, so you must be ready with this. Only this topic is very important for you to understand, friends. So this is very important as far as examination is concerned. Now the compressor efficiency. So as I said, there are some formulas which you should remember, which can be asked in the examination. So I'm going to show you some of the formulas from this chapter which are relevant and which are very important for you to understand, like the efficiency of the compressor. So they may ask you to calculate the efficiency of the compressor, which is the theoretical kilowatt by actual kilowatt into 100. So basically they may give you the value of the theoretical kilowatt and the actual kilowatt. So just you divide the two and multiply by 100 and you get the efficiency of the compressor. It's a very simple formula. But sometimes what happens, they will not give you the theoretical kilowatt, they will give you other parameters with this link to finding the theoretical kilowatt and also the actual kilowatt. So what you need to do is you need to use those parameters and the figures numbers to calculate first of all the theoretical kilowatt, then the actual kilowatt, and then you divide the two, multiply by 100, and then you get the efficiency of the compressor. So the question can be asked in two ways. If it is a objective type questions, basically straightforward question will be asked. In that case, what happens, they will give you only the they will straightforward, they will give you the theoretical kilowatt number, actual kilowatt number, and you need to apply this formula to calculate the efficiency of compressor. That's it. But suppose if it is a long answer type question, or maybe a part of long answer type questions, or maybe a short answer type questions, in that case what happens, they will not give you directly the theoretical kilowatt, they will give you other parameters with which you can calculate the theoretical kilowatt, also the actual kilowatt, and then you can divide the two and find the efficiency of compressor. So if you can see the formulas here, first of all, efficiency of compressor and motor combination formula is 100 into theoretical kilowatt by actual kilowatt. This is a direct formula. Now, if you are asked to find the theoretical kilowatt, in that case, the formula is Nk by Nk minus 1 under bracket, again Q into Ps by 0.612, again bracket open, Pd by Ps, K minus 1 by Nk minus 1. This is the formula which you must, a number of times you must practice it out, because it's a typical formula. Maybe you may make some mistakes in the examination. Now if you see the n equals number of stages, k equals ratio of specific heats, ps is the suction pressure, pd is the discharge pressure, q is the actual airflow. So if you get all these numbers in different ways, they may ask you the questions. So sometimes it gets confused also, you may get confused, maybe they may not place this parameter in a straight way, maybe in different way they may ask you. So you may be ready with this formula, and all the understanding concept also required here, friends. So once you know the theoretical kilowatt, you may calculate it. Then the actual kilowatt can also be calculated with the formula root 3 vi cos phi, that is root 3 vi power factor. So if you calculate both the actual kilowatt and theoretical kilowatt, just place them here in this formula and find the efficiency of the compressor. So this is very important. Numerical part also is important, and the formula is very relevant here, very important for the exams and concern, friends. Just to example to show here, the system leakage is calculated as again one more formula is here, that is q into t by t plus t, where q equals to actual free air, t equals time on load, and t small t equals time on load. So if they gave you if they give you t and small t and the q three, all the three figures they will give you, they will ask you to calculate the system leakage. So in that case you will need to apply this formula to calculate the system leakage, friends. So this is also important formula for you to understand, which may come in the examination. Maybe a straightforward question they may ask, or maybe they may ask you in a different way, in a as a part of short answer type question or as a part of long answer type question, friends. So they may ask you on a leak test, they may ask you this type of question on a numerical part. So I'm not going to explain you in this particular video all these numericals. I'll be making a separate videos where the numerical part will be discussed. So you may get in touch with me, and you may, I mean, keep watching the different videos that I'm posting, such that you get the numerical part also answered and for your understanding. So in this case, I'm not going to explain you. Just you see the how the formulas are applied here, and how the questions can be asked in the case of examination, friends. So leak test example is placed for you to understand only, just to highlight here how the numericals are asked in the examination, and how the, I mean, the different formulas are applied in the case of the numericals, friends. So maybe they will give you the compressor capacity, cut-in pressure, cutout pressure, onload kilowatt, unload kilowatt drawn, and then average onload time, average unload time. All these things they will give you. They will ask you to comment on the leakage quantity and avoidable losses, power due to air leakages. So also they may ask you to leakage quantity, how much it is, leakage per day, how much it is, specific power for compressed air generation, and power lost, how much it is. So they, you will be asked to calculate all this different type of, I mean, the requirements are there in the case of examination, friends. So this is very important. So numericals, as far as numerical concerned, so you need to understand the formula, the concept also is important. So I'll be making a separate video where the different numericals will be explained to you, in how to apply those formulas in the different numericals. That will also be explained in the coming videos which I'm going to post in coming days. So again, if you have not subscribed my channel, please do subscribe it, so that you get the notification as soon as I post a new video in coming days, because I'm going to make a different type of videos, not only the important tips, but also the different numericals which are relevant for the examination, which can come in the examination, which have come earlier also in the examination, how to approach for those numericals, and what are the different formulas which can be applied, and how you can apply, and how the concept can be applied for those numericals. Those things also I'm going to post in coming days. So please do subscribe my channel if not done yet, please, friends. So again, if you see here, again, actual free air discharge is fat test. For fat test, you have one important formula, that is q equals to P2 minus P1 by P0 into V by T. This is an important formula where P2 equals to final pressure, P1 is the initial pressure, P0 is the atmospheric pressure, V equals to storage volume, and T is the time taken to build up pressure. So this is the different parameters you will have in the examination. They may give you straightforward question, maybe twisted type question also may be asked in the examination. So you need to understand this formula, and how these different parameters are applied in the formula, and how you can apply this formula to calculate the free air discharge, that is FAD, in the examination, friends. So they may ask you different type of questions based on this type of numericals also can be asked in the examination, and important formula can be applied to solve those numericals, friends. So this is very important formula as far as the examination is concerned. So you can see, if you see the example here, the piston displacement is given here, theoretical compressor capacity is given, compressor rated RPM is given, visual volume is given, initial pressure, final pressure, atmospheric pressure, all these things will be given to you. So they may give you in straightforward, maybe in twisted form they may give you, and they may ask you to calculate the compressor output in cmm. So this is the formula you may apply here. Again, say P2 minus P1 into total volume by atmospheric pressure by into pump up time. So this formula can be applied again to calculate this particular numerical, friends. So this is very relevant as far as examination concerned, because different type of questions can come in the examination based on this formula, and you need to understand how the formula is applied for different type of numericals. That is also very important for you to understand, friends, as far as the examination concerned. So again, how air amplifier work, this is an important part of the chapter. I'm not going to explain you again here, because it's already given in the chapter. You can go through the book, you can see the chapter, this part of chapter, how the air amplifier work. But yes, number of times the questions have been asked from this part. They may ask you to give the brief expression of the different parts of the air amplifier, and also the working principle of the air amplifier. So I'm skipping for the timing here in this part of the video, because it's getting too long. But yes, you can go through the chapter in the book. Now you see there the different components are explained of the air amplifier. That also you must understand, because they may give you this figure, they put the number as shown in the figure, and they may ask you to define the different components, and they explain the working principle of the air amplifier, and how it is used, how it is useful. So those things also can be asked in the examination. So please read the chapter, this part of the chapter in the book, friend. So I hope, friends, now you might have subscribed my channel. If not yet, please do subscribe my channel, because this will motivate me to prepare more such videos in coming days and post for you. and this will I'm putting my efforts for you to help you to prepare for your examination. So please do subscribe my channel. This is the only request I'm asking from you, requesting from you. And if also press the bell icon, because in coming days I'm going to post different type of videos. Also I have posted earlier also, I have posted a few videos, and now in the coming days I'm going to post more such videos from different chapters. Also the important tips I'm going to highlight, and also the numericals that those are important for you to understand, which can in the examination. Those things also I'm going to post in coming days. So please press the bell icon so that you may not miss any videos which I'm posting in coming days, friends. So please do subscribe my channel. Also post, click the bell icon so that you get the notification as soon as I post any new video. And also please share these videos with your colleagues, your friends who are appearing for examination with you in this year, or maybe they are looking forward to take an exam in the coming years. For them also you can share the video so that they can get some know-how of the examination pattern and the different important questions and important aspects or points from the chapters. So those things they may understand. So please share the video with the colleagues, with your friends whom you think they is relevant for them, which is important for them for the examinations in this year or coming years. Also you may share these videos to all those, the students who are in engineering, doing engineering in electrical or mechanical field. In they are already in part one or part two, or also likewise. So for them also this is important, because in future they want to shape career. So these videos can help them to take exam in coming years, after few years when they are going to sit for the exams. So please do share the videos with your those students who are doing engineering. Also you may share the video to your freshers who are just joined the industry, service industry, or the industrial sector. So if they're looking forward to, or if they think of looking forward to take exam in coming years, or in after few years, they may also see these videos. They will get some insight of the exam pattern and different questions that may come in the examination. So this will motivate them also to appear for exam in few years, after few years. So please share these videos as much as possible to you, as many people you can forward to. So maybe they will also get support for their preparation of the exam, or they will get some know-how of the exam, what is all about, and why they should go for the examination, how they should prepare for the examination. So please do subscribe my channel, friends, if not done yet. Also please press the bell icon if not done yet, and also please share the video as much as possible to as many people as possible from your side, friends. This will motivate me to prepare more such videos in coming days and post for you, friends. So thanks for watching my video. Hopefully these videos are helping you now for preparing your examination, and my effort is uh, supporting you anyhow, putting you some value to your exam preparation, friends. So that's all for today, friends, and I'll be again posting a new video or a new chapter in coming days. So please be connected with me, and please keep on watching my videos and spreading the videos among your colleagues and friends. Thanks for watching. Thanks again.